You're listening to the Adcast.
This is the Adcast. All right, guys, it's Eric here with the Adcast. Three things that you need anytime you're doing a campaign: budget, media, and message.
It's very important.
You're listening to the Adcast.
All right, everybody, I want to welcome you to the Adcast. I want to tell you a little bit about my guest today. His name is Mr. Harlan Schillinger, and he definitely needs no introduction at all. And I will tell you, it is such a privilege to be able to speak to him today, and a privilege to know him. And I look forward to a long friendship with this gentleman. He needs no introduction, like I said. He's one of the first to have ever done it. He's one of the first who have ever had a produced television ad, and he began this back in the late 70s, and he's still burning stages today. He's such a trailblazer. So when it comes to legal marketing and advertising, this gentleman is the godfather. He is. You know, James Brown's the godfather of soul. Harlan, you're the godfather of legal marketing and advertising. He's worked with over 130 firms in over 100 markets. So trust me, there's nothing that you could say to Harlan that he has not heard or nothing he has not seen. Does that make any sense at all to you, Harlan?
Well, it does, but I'm going to make two corrections.
Okay, awesome.
My last name is Schillinger. Everybody mispronounces it and say Schillinger.
Uh-huh.
So you're just one of everybody, although you're not. You're special. And the Godfather thing, I don't know how to handle that. I just kind of go with it. I started legal advertising in 1978. I put my first television commercials on then, 78, 79.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that was the first. Len Jacoby was really the very, very first person. He was on before the Bates decision. And Len, of course, is a very dear friend and still a very good client of my old agency.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, like I said, Harlan continues to burn stages. He's also authored some books as well. And also, he's a mentor to others. So everyone just give a round of applause to Mr. Harlan. I appreciate you so much for making some time. And what we're going to do is we're going to just dive right into it. I just want us to have this conversation. What we're going through and what we're seeing right now, especially in the legal community, is something that a lot of firms have never seen before. And truthfully, we're in some unprecedented times, and this is history. And we've seen things kind of fall off the cliff in a matter of weeks. It's not like 2008, 2009, where there was a slow decline. So, Harlan, if you had a client coming to you right now, what would you say, like, what are the number one things that you would say to a client right now to describe the times that we're in?
Well, let's why don't we get into what I am saying to my clients? And it's you've got two types of clients. You have clients that are running scared, and you have clients that are running strong. And we are on unprecedented times. There has never been a history that I'm aware of, that we've had to, deal with what we're doing. I mean, we're all locked up in our homes. Mm-hmm. So everybody had to move to a remote situation. The scary money is panicking. Scary money is people that are saying, oh, the world is falling apart. I have to slash my expenses. I have to go get rid of people, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill.
Yeah.
The steady money are people that really understand what's going on here and understand that what we're in right now is a difficult journey. But what's going to hit you today? The reason without cars, on the street, without people getting into accidents, your intake, there's no question, is down. Mm-hmm. But your inventory is not down.
True.
The cases that you're working are not down. The insurance agencies, insurance companies are not down. In fact, my clients are settling cases right now for higher value than they thought they would get because the insurance industry wants to settle these cases. Now, I'm making a general statement, so it depends on what agency that you're working with, what company you're working with. But they want to settle, and they want to settle with a good write-off, and they want to get these off the books. And they're not hassling this week. Now, every week is going to change.
Mm-hmm.
So really, that puts us in an interesting frame of mind. What I tell clients and what I've said on other podcasts is settle your cases. Settle in, settle. Settle your cases. Work very hard. The reality is that people that are working for law firms right now seem to be digging in and appreciating the paycheck that they're getting.
Right.
And so that's a plus. What's going to happen in the future, in 10 months, 11 months, 12 months, is the lack of calls right now is going to catch up to us.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got a very strong period of time to adjust to that, and not adjust in a panicky way, but seriously, make strong suggestions that will not suggestions, excuse me, plans that will that we can adjust to. And really, that's the crux of where we're at right now.
Right.
Everybody can, debate it in 6 different ways. I'm on a number of conference calls with clients and their friends and what have you. And, there's one firm in Kentucky that probably one of the largest advertisers, they cut 90% of their workforce. Well, how are you going to settle cases with nobody there?
Right.
I think that's panic advertising, advertising moves. And that's really in the crux of it again, where we're at.
So now let's just say like the firm who cut 90% of their spend right now, there may be some firms that have to say, you know what, I have to keep the lights on. So how do you advise them when they have this situation like, you know what, I got to keep my lights on, or I know that I'm going to pay for this down the road by still not being strong, like you say?
Well, you got to focus on your files. You have to focus on your settlements. You have to focus on the business at hand. That has not changed.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a great opportunity actually to work harder on those files, make stronger demands, and keep your cash flow going. And that's really the most important thing I'm going to say today.
One of the things that, when you and I spoke earlier, we said strategy is important, right? And I agree with you 100% on that. Do you feel like a lot of firms just go with it and they don't have like a strategy? And what do you tell your clients before you do anything? I mean, what should they be looking at?
Well, a strategy is important. In fact, I believe that's what I am now, a strategist. I don't want to be called a consultant. I'm certainly not, an ad agency any longer. But I'm a strategist. I'm a consigliere. And you have to have a strategy in everything that you do, whether it's bringing your kids up or whether it's going to the grocery store. You got a strategy. When you walk into the
Mm-hmm.
store, you know where you're going to begin and you know where you're going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And so strategy is really important. I think in the financial world, they call it a pro forma. But a strategy right now is really, Eric, very imperative.
So messaging. Right? Let's just say if we have the strategy, right, when we talked about being scared or being strong, is it important right now for you to change your messaging? Is it important for you to still remain, let's just say I'm the heavy hitter, is it still good for you to continue with that, or just kind of message with empathy for the times that you're in now?
Well, let's talk about the times that we're in now, right? So, number one, you have a brand. Your brand is what people think of you when you're out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
Your brand is what people see. Brand is what people respond to. And then you have the tactics. The tactics are the messages.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that you're going to change your brand because unless you want to change your personality, and I do believe that some people are under pressure,
Mm-hmm.
but let's say you have your brand in place. Keep that brand. And yes, you have to have a different message. The message, or an alternate message, the message is compassion. The message is acknowledgement. I think we're at a point right now, Eric, that everybody's kind of sick of hearing C19.
Yeah.
And everybody's sending emails. Everybody's bombarding it. So you have to stay on task with the message. Last week, everybody announced we're open. We're here to do business. I think you have to have that as a consistent message. but you got to shift a bit.
Mm-hmm.
This is a new world. Live in the new world, and your messaging should really reflect that.
It's you said the new world, and it almost reminds me of something that I read, and I also wrote something on this about the Ford Model T, right? And then you got the Ford Mustang today, two totally different things, same brand, but you just do it different today.
They both have four wheels.
Yep,
They both have an engine,
right,
and they both were designed for transportation.
Mm-hmm.
Ford, that's their brand. The Ford, it's interesting you bring that up, but Ford hasn't really changed their brand. It is Ford,
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're owned by Mercedes, their core brand, but their messaging has always changed. Look, changing messages is a good thing. That's keeping yourself fresh in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
But establish your brand.
So now, speaking of brand, I want to take a break and I want to come back and I want to talk about how you can come out of this and emerge as the king, like you said during our call the other day. All right, so I'm going to take a break, and this is the Adcast.
When all eyes are on you, make it count. From audio and video to graphic design and more, Craft Creative can do it all. We don't make commercials, we craft creative. See what we can do for you at wecraftcreative.com.
Live from VIP Marketing Studio, this is the Adcast.
Okay, we're going to jump right back into it. Harlan, I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to you about emerging as the king.
Look, in diverse times during the Depression, in downturn economy, strong brands make the biggest stride because it's the least expensive way to take market share. Because your competitors are sitting beside, the road.
Mm-hmm.
They're off the road, and you have a clear. Now you have to have a strategy, and you have to have cash flow, and you have to have an understanding of what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you don't have a nickel. How does a lawyer really, come out of this? The first thing is it's imperative for you to call every client, hold their hand, tell them that you're here, tell them that their cases are safe. And doing that on a weekly basis, I think, is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because the best case that's going to walk into your office is through referral. Look, you and I have booked a lot of airtime in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
You're still doing it. I'm still supervising it. The best case that comes into your office is through referral. So your clients refer business. How you approach them, how you deal with them, how compassionate you are, how will you communicate with them right now is your greatest asset.
Mm-hmm.
It could also be your greatest foe if you think that you're kidding yourself and you don't have to communicate with people. Some people say, well, I'm not going to call my clients. I don't have the time to do that. That's absolutely nonsense. Would you rather get a telephone call from your lawyer, or would you rather get an email? Emails are cold. Emails are insensitive. They're not personal. They look canned. They are what they are. They're emails.
Mm-hmm.
You got to really bond with your clients. That is how you're going to come out of this in an emerging manner. If you can afford, which you should be able to afford, to maintain your messaging on television, radio, your paid media, your internet, continue to do that. Adjust the message. I have a client that is taking a huge initiative with the Red Cross, gathering blood. They're doing a campaign hand in hand with the Red Cross. They were so eager, and he's taking, I think, 20 or 30% of his airtime and donating it to the cause.
Right.
So you're absolutely keeping yourself in front of people. But let me just touch on the media for a second.
Okay.
Look, there's no question everybody is renegotiating their rates. I mean, that's a fact. Rates are dropping between 30 and 40%. That's about an average.
And sometimes I've seen things even today more than that.
Probably,
yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that do for you? That allows you to buy more airtime, really, or have more exposure. Look at the battlefield right now. Look at the way your market is and the competitors. Half of your market, half of your competitors are panicking. They're they're scared. Do you want to join them, or do you want to emerge, stronger than them?
Yeah.
And that's the mentality that you have to have. It's pretty simple. The only way that you're going to maintain that mentality is to work your cases so your cash flow comes in.
Now, Harlan, when you talked about some of the media stuff, when you began advertising back in the late 70s, and you've always progressed, and now you have this monster that is social media. And I think some people, they look at Facebook as like some social platform, but Facebook is an ad platform. It allows people and brands to be a little more intimate with the market, their future clients. Do you think law firms are taking social media serious now, or do they still see it as it's just one thing we need to check off the list to have? Does it come up a lot in your discussions?
Back in 1996, Nordy Fricke and I presented the internet to our clients, network affiliates. And I remember he and I walked out of the room, and we discussed it. We said that these guys are not getting it. It's here. They have to get it. They rejected being early adapters, most of them anyway.
Right.
And they had to play catch up. Look, social media is a fact of life. The reason it's the second or third, most profitable company in the planet, with 3 billion users, is because they sell media, not because they pass messages from your grandmother or your sister, and you have funny posts. It's because they're selling media.
Right.
And they're selling media, and they're growing because it's working. It is here to stay. I am a very big believer, Eric, of early adoption. He who adopts early goes through the curve quicker.
Yeah.
And they stay ahead. I mean, right now, social media is an anomaly for most people. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to figure out what it is. I think you have to start with not only being social, but understanding, the reality of exactly what it is. Look, the last election was one on social media, and this election will be one on social media.
That's interesting you said that. I think I told you that I went to a conference in Las Vegas, and they talked about making one of the largest political purchases on like Facebook. And they talked about how like Hillary Clinton's campaign ran like 57,000 ads, and they ran 6.6 million ads, and they were able to A/B test and actually do custom audiences, and they outmarketed her almost. And there was a time where television was the be-all, end-all. If you wanted to win a political campaign, you had to be on television. And now it's like, if you want to win a political campaign, you have to include social media. So do law firms, do you think, I know you and I were early adopters of it, but do you think the firms are taking it serious and they're using that ad platform the way that they should?
Well, they're two different questions. I do think that a lot of law firms are taking it seriously. The majority are not, because they don't know what to do.
Right.
Ad agencies don't really know what to do. We're kind of treating this as sheep. We'll just do what the next guy does. Quite frankly, unfortunately, most advertisers, that's their mentality. There are very few people that take the initiative and break out and do their own thing. If you take a look at what Brown and Crouppen is doing in St. Louis, that's groundbreaking on how they're managing and doing their social media. Take a look at Mike Morse up in Detroit. He is a groundbreaker, with social media, because what he's doing is he's being social, he's being entertaining, and he's allowing himself to be humanized. Social media is one of the greatest tools to humanize you. It gives you an opportunity to do a lot of different things. If you're going to stick to evergreen posting, which is generic posting, what to do if you're in a car accident in Kalamazoo, people aren't interested in that. What they're interested in is video content. They're interested in knowing who you are and seeing kind of your antics. And I think that's where lawyers fall short. They don't get it. And the agency, social media is very difficult for an agency in one city to manage when their client is in another city, because they don't know the intimacy, they don't know the personnel, they can't make it personal. I really think the strongest approach you can have is somebody internally that understands social media, that can, continue to drum up social content that's relevant and humanizing.
Yeah.
A good example of that is John Berry in Omaha. John is got a mega practice. He's one of the biggest veterans affairs firms in the country. Criminal. I mean, his phone's ringing off the hook right now, and I mean that. I'm not just saying that. I looked at his intake yesterday, and with him, and the truth of it is he's understanding the social platform, because social platforms is validation. It's just so many things.
The one thing about social that I really do like and I love is that you're not beholden to the 15 seconds or 30 seconds of the media. You know what I mean? If it takes you 49 seconds to deliver that message, you can do it in 49 seconds or 2 minutes. Now you have that opportunity to be able to talk about that brand that you are, talk about really what you can do and what you will do for your clients. That's one reason why I really love it. You can really get a chance to tell the whole story.
Well, think about this. You're an expert at producing television commercials and running your agency. But think about this: you you bring a client into a studio. It's all a very controlled environment. You have an exact count of words that's going to, simulate to a 30-second commercial. You have to be precise. How many times do you do it over and over and over just to get that timing? And so, with social media, all of that's out the window. And you just said it. I'm only repeating what you just said, Eric. It's the most humanizing opportunity that you have in the world right now, and you have to take advantage of it.
I agree. Harlan, I know you have a hard stop today. You're a very busy person, and what I admire now is a lot of folks are actually reaching out to you now. And they're asking you for your advice, and you're giving your advice. And some of the things that I've read, even online, people say, when Harlan speaks, you listen. When Harlan speaks, you listen. So how does Harlan, how do you stay in tuned? Like, for example, you talked about John Berry. I mean, you're constantly talking to people. You're entrenched in this stuff. So how do you stay up to date? How do you stay not relevant, because you're relevant, but how do you stay on top of everything?
Well, what you're asking is, how do I learn what to do?
In a nutshell.
Well, first of all, I do have a lot of relationships that I keep in touch with. You don't wake up in the morning and you come up with all these ideas. You look at where the market is. You look at opportunities. I attend a lot of conferences. I speak at a lot of conferences. I love to deal with vendors, because vendors, I believe, are some of the smartest people in the world, because they're the innovators. They come up with their product. Many vendors have their own agenda, so that, this is their product, this is how it fits. But you have to pay attention to what everybody is doing. You came on the scene. I paid attention to what you're doing. I looked at some of the things that you're doing that make sense. And so I'm learning from you. I'm constantly learning something new every day. I really don't appreciate when somebody says to me, well, you know everything. Well, I don't know anything.
Right.
Every day is a new opportunity. I was taught, my dad taught me, learn something new every day in your life.
Right.
And I never, ever forgot that. I'm going to learn something new today. But I do my homework. And I think I talk to people that are intelligent about what they're doing. I also look outside the legal industry. I've always said, if you want to do great legal marketing, don't look at another lawyer. Look at another business.
Man, you hit the nail on the head, Harlan. You hit the nail on the head.
With your business, I mean, you do a lot of automotive. I mean, if you really want to understand intake on the internet side, what better product understands and has mastered intake on the digital side than the automotive? The first thing they did was to divide the sales force. Okay, yes. We're going to have the backroom guys that are going to deal with everybody that's looking for a car.
Yep.
and they're going to be specialists on how to talk to people, how to lure them in, how to sell on the internet. It's not the same as answering a telephone call.
That's true.
And in fact, with my dear friend Glenn Lerner, what we did in his office is we separated in Chicago, we separated the digital leads from the television leads. Well, what happened? His conversions went up because he had a more intelligent, more focused, more intelligent conversation with people.
You know, we talked about that too on how the automotive industry reminds me so much of the legal industry. And like you just said, it's a great way to kind of dovetail it. So you just brought up Mr. Lerner. How is it with firms that actually don't keep up with where their leads are coming from? Do you think it's important for them, or it's vital for them to say, you need to keep track of what you're spending and also where your leads are coming from, so you're not throwing money out the window?
Well, let's just cut to the chase there. I know we're kind of getting tight on time, but intake and conversion is the biggest hole in everybody's bucket. There is not one of your clients or my clients or any person out there, office out there, that can't improve their intake. You know, I trademarked what you don't know, you don't know. And what that really means is we know what cases you signed, but you may not know where your calls are coming from, where your metrics are coming from.
Right.
You know, to run your business on the cases that you sign up is myopic. That's only one portion of it. Don't you want to convert more? You know, by having metrics in place, and I guess it's no secret that I own Lead Docket, which is the leading piece of software right now in the country for intake and conversion, because it's simple. Not to give a sales pitch to them, but you should take a look at it, or take a look at some of the other systems that are on the market. Have a system in place is the bottom line. It'll change your life. 20, 30%, 40% increases in your business from what you don't know. When I started working with Glenn in Chicago, we completely got him into his software that was sitting on the shelf, rearranged intake, and his business went from about 180 cases a month to 300, and he cut the media budget by $100,000 a month.
Wow.
Now, I think that's a pretty stellar turnaround. And what it was all about was not throwing more money at the media, but by converting more leads, things that fall through the cracks, communicating with intake and conversion. I think Salesforce is one of the biggest pieces of software on the market. It didn't get that way because it doesn't help you convert.
Right. Do you mind if I put show notes and actually put a link to Lead Docket so that people listening to this, they can go right there? I'd like to be able to do that, to offer them that resource to be able to look at it.
That's fine, but you know, I didn't get on here to hawk my product or
no, absolutely not.
Self-serving. I mean, I really believe, and people know that you have to give more than you take, and this is about educating, you know, the people that are out there, you know, your lawyers that are listening to this, and if we can help them improve their practice, we've just contributed to society.
Absolutely, it's our duty. It's our duty.
I think it's our responsibility, and in this time right now, it's more of our responsibility than ever before. People are turning to we call them the gray hairs, you know, for advice. We talked about that. I see those gray hairs on your chin. What we can tell people to do, more of what not to do than what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You learn from your mistakes.
It's true.
You know, the adage that you have to fail before you succeed is absolutely true. And I want to just go back to one other thing. You asked me, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
I probably have failed at more things than anybody you know. I try this, I try that, I try this. I can tell you what not to do more than what to do. And you have to understand, you know, that process, that thinking.
I agree. I want to ask you one set of questions here is what we call the lightning round, right? And in the lightning round, I'm going to give you certain medias, and I want you to tell me what you think about those medias. Like, for example, I'll tell you radio. What does Harlan think of radio?
Radio, there's a time and a place for. Radio is extremely effective. I mean, you know, I have clients that use radio incredibly well, going after 3M earplugs, because we can hone in on radio around military bases and also environments where military have retired. So it's a really great medium. It's a branding medium. The problem I have a little bit with radio is people that think that radio is cheaper than television. It isn't. It's the same because you have to buy so much more of it, and
Exactly.
it is It's not inexpensive. Again, there's a time and a place for it. I think radio is more of a branding mechanism right now. People that are driving and listening to radio, what are they going to do? Pull over and call you? So it's a little further down on my list.
Television.
Absolutely the backbone of advertising. I don't think there's any question. Television drives everything to your sites. People say that television is fragmented. It's not the same. Viewership is off. That's bullshit. Did I just say that?
No, that's fine.
More people are watching the tube than ever before. However, you have to acknowledge that it's broken up. You have Prime TV, you have internet television, you have OTT, and so it's a very fragmented audience. But if you understand television, there's never been a better time to pinpoint your audience and buy your audience. You just have to do a lot more work, and you have to really take a look at the whole mechanism. But if you take a look at what Amazon is doing, what Hulu is doing, even Netflix, can't buy advertising on. There's never been stronger programming. It's an entertainment medium. I mean, it's so powerful. You just have to understand how to master it and target it.
Billboard advertising.
Love it. Billboard allows you to plant a sign and say, "I am here." That's what billboards do. I am here. I'm here in your community.
Direct mail.
Are you talking about database direct mail or going after accident cases?
Let's just say database direct mail.
Well, I think there's a time and a place for it. I think we're all into an electronic frame of mind in sending. I believe in doing database marketing, sending out a message on a template, that's relevant, that's community service oriented, that's not lawyerish on an every other week basis. The point of direct mail is keeping in touch with your people. So you can either do that by mail, and I do believe that when everybody's doing electronic, a letter to somebody's house, home, you're in the home. But what direct mail is about is touch points. You cannot touch your clients enough through direct mail.
There's still some attorneys that I've seen on yellow pages, phone books.
I did a video that's on my Facebook page, harlanschillinger.com. On my Facebook page, me in my bathrobe, and this was a true story. I picked up the yellow pages from my driveway, and it was kind of really thin.
Yeah.
I personally think it's a waste of money. People aren't using it. If you're going to use yellow pages, go to the in column, do a box ad, and hope that somebody calls you.
All right. Social media.
I don't think there's any question. We spent most of our time here on social media. Have a plan. Get together with the smartest people you can find. Do your research in who to find. Understand social media. Read everything you can about it. I'm a huge fan of Gary Vaynerchuk's. I think he's educated me to no degree. But study it. Look at the gurus.
PPC.
I'm mixed about PPC. I like PPC. I think it's productive. I think it is not as productive as it has been. I think we're going through a transition with PPC.
Harlan, and with that, I want to thank you so much for being an incredible guest and look forward to a great friendship with you. And I'm sure this won't be the last time that we're together on this conference or doing a podcast together. So everyone, I just want to thank you guys so much for listening, and also thank you, Harlan, for your time. Harlan, please tell people exactly where they can find you or get more information on you.
Well, I do have a website. It's harlanschillinger.com. It's just a one-page thing that gives you a little bit about me. You can just simply Google Harlan Schillinger on Google. I think 8 or 10, 15 pages will come up. Or you can just call me. My phone number is on my website. I'm not saying this to drum up business. I'm saying this so I can share more with people. Business, truthfully, I'm I'm loaded right now. But look, they can call you and you can put them in touch with me.
Absolutely. Well, Harlan, I know you have a hard stop. Again, thank you for your time, and I want to thank our listeners for giving us their most valuable asset, which is the time that they have. Thank you to our sponsors, Craft Creative, and this has been the Adcast. Thank you, Harlan. If you feel this podcast has been a help to you or could be a help to others, please don't forget to subscribe. You can listen to our podcast anywhere: iHeart, Spotify, Apple Music, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And this episode is also going to be available on YouTube. To catch up on past episodes, go to heyi'meric.com, or you can always text me at 843-483-1555.
This podcast is brought to you by VIP Marketing and Advertising.
You don't need a marketing agency. You do deserve very important placement. VIP Marketing and Advertising is a cutting-edge strategic digital, creative, media, and marketing partner that provides services for businesses of all sizes. To stay up to date on the latest marketing news, subscribe for email updates at veryimportantplacement.com.